Welcome back to the deep dive. We are really glad you're here with us today.
We are.
We are tackling a topic that is, well, it's almost certainly in your kitchen cabinet, your fridge, maybe even on your desk right now.
Oh, for sure.
And I have to be honest, the source material we're digging into today, it's this huge stack of reports and lectures from Dr. Michael Greger and nutritionfacts.org. It's a bit of a slap in the face.
It really is. It's a wake-up call.
Mhm.
We're talking about the industrialization of our food supply.
Yeah.
And when you look at all the data together, the picture it paints of what we're eating is, well, it's complex.
Mm-hmm.
And frankly, it's a little disturbing.
It starts with this one statistic that just floored me. The United States is one of the richest countries in the world. We spend more on healthcare than anyone.
By far.
And yet, among the top dozen wealthiest countries, we have the lowest life expectancy.
It's a startling paradox, isn't it? You'd think all that money, all that advanced medicine would buy you a longer life.
You would.
But the data suggests there's this massive anchor dragging those numbers down. And that anchor is the American diet.
Specifically, ultra-processed foods.
Exactly. The fact that most of the calories we eat now come from what they call ultra-processed food.
UPFs. I feel like we hear that term all the time, and you just think, okay, junk food, chips, soda.
Right.
But the sources we looked at suggest it's way more nuanced and a little more sinister than just empty calories.
It is. So the mission for this deep dive isn't just to tell you eat less sugar. We want to decode the mechanisms of processing.
Like why a factory muffin is different from a homemade one.
Yes. And we're going to get to a really surprising twist later on about plant-based meats that kind of defies that whole processed is bad narrative.
I can't wait for that part because that really did surprise me. But let's start at the beginning. How did we even get here?
Good question. I mean, we haven't always eaten things out of crinkly bags. For a long time, nutrition science was in what you'd call the deficiency era. We were worried about getting enough. Not enough vitamin C, you get scurvy. Not enough vitamin D, you get rickets.
Right, the whole eat your oranges so your teeth don't fall out thing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And we largely solved those problems. But then the pendulum swung way over into the excess era.
Now we're dying from having too much.
Too much sugar, too much salt, too much fat. And the food companies, they got really good at gaming this. They realized if they just fortified a sugary cereal with vitamins, they could market it as healthy.
The source mentioned fiber-fortified Fruit Loops.
Which is just,
Yeah.
It's the perfect example of the absurdity. You're just checking boxes, ignoring the food itself.
So that's where this Novier system comes in.
Exactly. Professor Carlos Montero developed it to classify food not by its nutrients, but by how it's made.
Let's break that down because I think people get confused. I mean, cooking is processing, right?
Of course. Chopping a carrot is processing. That's group 1 in Novier, minimally processed. But group 4 is the one we're focused on. Ultra-processed foods.
These are industrial formulations.
Yes. This is where we leave the kitchen and enter the chemistry lab. These things contain substances you just never find at home. Hydrolyzed proteins, invert sugar, artificial dyes.
The source used the Pop-Tart example, and I don't think I can ever look at one the same way again.
It's a classic case study. You take a frosted grape Pop-Tart, the box is covered in pictures of beautiful grapes.
But there are more grapes on the box than in the pastry?
Literally. And to make it look like grapes, they use red dye 40 and blue dye 1. To make it taste like grapes, they use chemical flavorings.
So your body isn't actually interacting with a grape at all.
Not even close. It's an industrial edible substance engineered to mimic food.
That's the phrase industrial edible substance.
Mhm.
And the list of these things it's basically the whole middle of the grocery store.
Soda, ice cream, most mass-produced bread, chicken nuggets, fish sticks. If it's in a box and you can't make it at home, it's probably a UPF.
Which brings us to the big defense from the food industry. They always say, look, it's just calories. It's just sugar and salt.
Right. A calorie is a calorie.
A homemade cookie with the same sugar as a store-bought one is the same thing. Just exercise more.
It sounds logical. But Kevin Hall of the NIH decided to, actually put that to the test.
In the first ever randomized controlled trial on this, and this wasn't some survey.
No, this was a metabolic ward study. They were under house arrest for science.
Oh.
They took 20 volunteers, locked them in a hospital ward for a month. For 2 weeks, they ate an ultra-processed diet. Turkey sausage, diet lemonade, that kind of thing.
For the other 2 weeks.
An unprocessed diet. Oatmeal, nuts, salads, whole foods.
But here's the kicker, right? The diets were matched.
Matched, exactly. Presented with the same calories, same sugar, fat, fiber, everything. On paper, they were identical.
Yep.
And they were told to eat as much or as little as they wanted.
So if a calorie is just a calorie, they should have eaten the same amount.
They should have. But they didn't. Not even close.
Okay, so what happened?
When people were on the ultra-processed diet, they spontaneously ate about 500 more calories per day.
500. That's an entire extra meal every day.
It is huge. And in just 2 weeks, they gained 2 pounds. Then when they switched to the unprocessed diet, they lost weight.
So why? If the sugar and fat were the same, what was driving them to eat so much more?
It seems to be the processing itself, specifically the texture. UPFs are engineered to be soft, pre-chewed almost. They melt in your mouth.
So you barely have to work for it.
You eat them much, much faster.
Oh, no.
And you're basically racing against your own stomach. It takes time for your gut to release the hormones that tell your brain, hey, stop, we're full.
So you can wolf down 1,000 calories before your brain even gets the message.
That's the theory. You've overshot your energy needs before the stop signal even arrives.
That really undermines the whole personal responsibility argument, doesn't it?
It does. If a food is physically engineered to bypass your body's off switch, willpower is fighting a losing battle. It's not about making a low-fat Oreo. The problem is built into the food's very structure.
Okay, so weight gain is one thing, but the sources link these foods to, I mean, the list is long. All-cause mortality, cancer, dementia, IBD.
It is. But I want to zoom in on one that really stood out because it's so unexpected. The link between processed meat and your lungs.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I never connect hot dogs with breathing.
Me neither. But the data is strong. Eating cured meats, so bacon, hot dogs, cold cuts, is linked to a 40% increased risk of COPD.
Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, the thing you get from smoking.
Exactly. And it's specific. The research shows each hot dog you eat per week is linked to an 8% higher risk.
Wow. So what's the mechanism there?
It comes down to the preservatives. Nitrites. They're used to keep the meat looking pink and to prevent botulism.
Right.
But those nitrites can damage the elastin and collagen in your lungs, the stuff that keeps them stretchy and flexible,
So your lungs can't snap back after a breath.
which is basically emphysema.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the wild part. The source draws a direct parallel to tobacco smoke.
How so?
One of the ways cigarette smoke damages your lungs is through nitrogen oxides, which turn into nitrites inside your lung tissue. So chemically, you're delivering a similar kind of damage.
Okay, so here's where I try to be clever at the grocery store. I see the uncured bacon, the expensive stuff. It says no nitrates or nitrites added. So I'm safe, right?
You would think so. But this is one of the biggest deceptions in the food industry, according to this research. If you look at the ingredients on that package, there's always a little asterisk. And it says, except those naturally occurring in cultured celery juice.
Celery juice sounds healthy. It's a vegetable.
It is. But celery is packed with nitrates. And the manufacturers add a bacterial culture to that celery juice to convert the nitrates into nitrites before they put it in the meat.
Wait, so they're just making the nitrates themselves from a vegetable source?
Exactly. They're basically running a little preservative factory in the vat instead of buying it from a chemical supplier.
But at the end of the day, it's the exact same chemical in the meat.
Identical. It has the nitrites. It carries the same risk to your lungs and your colon. But because it came from celery, they can legally call it uncured and put a health halo on it.
That is maddening.
And it's not just nitrites. When we talk about UPFs, you have to think about all the additives, like red dye number 3.
Oh, right. Banned from cosmetics?
Banned from lipstick 30 years ago because it was linked to cancer. Regulators said, don't put this on your skin. But they left it legal to eat.
Unbelievable. And then there was another acronym in the source material, AGE.
Advanced glycation end products. They're basically aging toxins.
Sounds bad.
They are. They form when food is cooked at very high temperatures, like in industrial processing. And the difference is just stark.
Give me an example.
Okay, a boiled potato has about 17 units of AGEs. Turn that into French fries. It shoots up to over 1,500.
Wow.
Or canned corn has about 20 units. Corn Pop cereal, 373.
Just from the processing?
Yes, but, and this is a crucial point that leads us to the next section, animal foods are high in AGEs even when they're raw.
So plants only get bad if we ultra-process them.
Yeah, really, yeah. Which brings us to the big aha moment of this whole deep dive.
The plant-based paradox.
The plant-based paradox. We've just spent all this time saying ultra-processed is bad. Then you have Impossible Burgers, Beyond Burgers. By definition, these are ultra-processed.
Right. Made in a factory, long ingredient list.
Yeah.
So are they bad for us?
This is where the compared to what question becomes the most important question in nutrition.
Okay.
Researchers looked at the Harvard cohorts, that's 200,000 people followed for decades, And they found something fascinating. The link between UPFs and, well, dying, it was driven almost entirely by two things:
Let me guess.
soda and processed animal meat.
So if you take soda and hot dogs out of the equation,
The link between all the other UPFs and mortality pretty much disappeared.
that is a huge, huge distinction.
It is. It implies that not all UPFs are created equal. And when you compare plant-based meats to the animal meats they replace, the plant-based versions win on health markers.
Even though they're processed.
Yes, a veggie burger isn't as healthy as a bowl of lentils, but it's a lot healthier than the beef burger it's designed to replace.
Let's break that down. Why is the fake meat healthier?
Okay, first, the basics. Nutrients. The plant ones have fiber, which meat has none of. They have no cholesterol, less trans fat, but it goes way beyond that. Think about contaminants.
This was the part of the research that made me a little queasy.
It's not pleasant, but it's reality. Ground beef and chicken are consistently contaminated with fecal bacteria, Salmonella E. coli,
The source said 85% of ground beef.
and about half of chicken. Plant-based meat has zero fecal contamination because, there are no intestines involved.
Good point.
Then you have antibiotics. Huge amounts are fed to livestock, none in a veggie burger. And then there's TMAO,
Right, trimethylamine N oxide.
a molecule that your gut bacteria make from compounds in red meat. It's a huge marker for heart disease. Animal meat makes your TMAO levels spike. Plant-based meat doesn't.
So even though the plant-based burger is engineered, it's engineered without all the bad stuff that comes with the animal.
Precisely. It's engineered without the cholesterol, without the fecal bacteria, without the antibiotics. It's the one class of UPF that's actually better for you than the whole food it mimics.
The source had a great analogy for this. They called it meat methadone.
It's a provocative term, but it fits, right? Methadone helps people get off heroin. It's not a health food. It's a harm reduction tool.
A stepping stone.
A stepping stone. There's a hierarchy here.
Okay, so what is it?
Tier 1, the best, is whole plant foods. Beans, lentils, nuts, the gold standard.
But if you're at a barbecue and you want a burger,
Then Tier 2, the better option, is the ultra-processed plant-based burger. It's way less harmful than Tier 3, the bad option, which is the actual processed meat, the hot dog.
and the public health impact of just that one switch is pretty big.
It's massive. They estimate if Americans swapped animal meat for plant-based meat, we could prevent 100,000 cases of heart disease and stroke a year.
And if they swapped for whole beans, it would be even more.
Yeah, 180,000 lives saved. But you can't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Saving 100,000 lives is still a huge win.
This has really shifted my perspective. We start with processing is bad, but it's a very broad brush.
It is. The general rule is still true. Ultra-processed foods are usually red flags for overeating. The Hall study proved that. Texture alone can make you eat 500 more calories a day.
But context is king.
Context is everything. The most dangerous UPFs are clearly soda and processed meats. Get rid of those, you've done the heavy lifting. And if processing creates a burger that gets people to eat fewer hot dogs, then that processing is a net positive for health.
So let's distill this down. What's the actionable advice here?
First, look at the texture of your food. If it melts in your mouth with almost no chewing, be really careful. It's designed to trick you.
And swap things in boxes for things that can rot.
Exactly. Eat real food. And in the meat aisle, be savvy. That no nitrites added label is usually a scam.
And don't be afraid of the fake meats.
Don't be afraid of them as a transition tool. They are cleaner than the product they're replacing.
It really makes you rethink the whole definition of food.
It does. And I want to leave you with this thought. We have this romantic idea of natural. A cow is natural, so beef is good. A lab is artificial, so a veggie burger is bad.
But nature is full of things that can kill you.
Right. Arsenic is natural if the natural product is full of bacteria and damages your arteries, and the artificial one saves you from that. Maybe we need to rethink what natural goodness really means.
And if a Pop-Tart is engineered to bypass your brain's stop signals, is it actually food?
Or is it just an industrial edible substance?
Something to chew on. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Stay curious.